What is up, guys? Chris Damasis here. If you're watching this video, then my best guess is that you are looking to take your health, fitness, training, movement, mindset to a whole new level. And if that is the case, well then please buckle up and pay attention, because in today's video, I'm going to share with you my unique story of how I went from playing semi-professional football but still feeling lost in what I was doing from a food standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, from a training standpoint, from a mindset standpoint. So lost, in fact, that I ended up just quitting the game at 27 years old, prematurely. And I made it my mission to find out the answers that I didn't have the answers to at the time. And over that 6-year journey, I trialed and error back and forth, until I finally came to a conclusion of what it was. And I'm going to share that with you today. I look at myself now, 34 years old, after implementing this training, the nutrition and the mindset methodology. And I can safely say that I would outperform my 24-year-old self tenfold, despite not being in my prime. So buckle up, get a pen and pad out. Now, I'm not going to bullshit you. This is a long video. So if you're looking for some dopamine hits, it's probably not going to be found here. Okay? There's no edits, nothing like that. But if you're serious, buckle up, because this is going to change your life. What's up, guys, and welcome. I'm so excited to share this presentation with you guys today on my journey on how I went from never reaching my potential to becoming more athletic at 34 than I was at 24 by eliminating the conventional training and nutrition methods that most men rely on. Here, 24 years old, thinking I was at my peak. Long and behold, I found that 10 years later. So buckle up, get a pen, get a pad out, prepare to take some notes, because I'm going to showcase and share with you exactly how I went through that. I know it sounds crazy, right? Trust me, I think the same, because for most of my life, nothing I tried actually worked the way it was supposed to. I mean, I wasn't really born with great genetics. I mean, I'm 5'7", not really the tallest guy, not naturally muscular, nor am I athletic. And I mean, this image up here is proof in the pudding that after 15 years of training, I still looked and performed pretty average. Like, that is the result of 3 times a week football and 3 gym sessions a week as well. So training very, very hard, but not seeing much output. And throughout my journey, I tried a lot of things. I tried a lot of things, a lot of diets, a lot of programs, and had some successes, didn't have some successes. And even the ones that were successful, they worked. However, I still felt something was missing. You know, being of Greek background, I can't help but always to think about the Spartans and emulating what they used to do. And, well, thinking, how did these guys stay in shape year round? Ripped monsters machines, the best warriors on planet Earth. And they didn't have no gyms. They didn't have scales to track their food. And I needed to find out what that was. I needed to, the things that I was doing from the conventional methods that I've been hearing or what's going on, they didn't align with my values. But once I figured it out of what that was, well, the results speak for themselves. Now, who is this for? If you used to feel like a champion on the field, but now you feel trapped in a body that's stiff and unathletic, then this is for you. If you miss feeling explosive, capable, and confident physically instead of heavy, tight, and restricted, then this is for you. If you're tired of waking up sore, low energy, and feeling older than you actually are, this is for you. And if you're an ex-athlete that wants to perform like you used to, this is for you. And if you refuse like I did, to accept that your physical prime is behind you because you have children or you're thinking about having children and you want to be a role model for them in the future, then this is for you. Now, who is this not for? Because it's not for everyone. But if you're expecting an overnight transformation, turn it off right now. Because I'm not about that. I'm all about the long game. And if you don't have that mindset, then this is definitely not for you. It's also not for you if you truly don't believe you are capable of more. If you're the type of guy that accepts your decline is solely blamed on age, not for you either. And if you're okay just plodding along in life and not standing out, then I'm going to say it's not for you too. And if you're only interested in leveling up your physique and you think that you'll achieve that without leveling up your mindset, your discipline, and even leveling up the people around you, not for you. Now, here's the truth. Everyone thinks and easily just accepts slowing down as part of aging. Like, yeah, I'm getting older. That's it. That's just the way life is. I call bullshit on that. I see it every day. And the reality is that most men just aren't capable of doing this because they don't actually understand how to train the nervous system and the connective tissue instead of just chasing muscle burn and soreness and getting your little workout in. Most men don't understand how to fuel performance and their physique by supporting their hormones rather than restricting food. It's a big thing, especially as we age. Testosterone drops. And if we aren't optimizing it, well, the things that you were doing in your 20s, you're going to struggle doing them in your 30s and beyond. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a long game. And most men don't understand how to follow a proven framework that actually builds long-term. You're going to hear that many, many times today. Long-term athletic capacity instead of just relying on a random workout that they've seen on Instagram and motivation videos, because that's all going to come and go. But systems are what's going to help you stay on course. But don't worry, guys, because I'm not going to let that happen to you. I'm just not going to let that happen to you because I didn't let it happen to myself. I made a decision at one stage of my life to think, you know what? I need to be the man. I need to be the man that people look at as the example. I'm not accepting the decline. There's no way. And these images are proof in the pudding. I mentioned earlier, I'm about 5'7". That's 170 centimeters. That's me jumping on the left over a hurdle that's 140 centimeters. I never did athletics. Ever. Pretty much jumping my entire height. Photo of me in the middle is me in the boxing ring at the age of 33. We'll go into that a little bit deeper. But here I'm victorious over a man that's 21 years of age, 12 years younger than me. Technically in his prime. Should have more test. Should have more hunger. Less to lose. I managed to be victorious. And the third photo is me showing off my physique. Showing that the physique is just a direct representation of the work that I've been putting in. And this quote here, everything is downhill after 30, I will never forget this. I had a conversation at a birthday party, at a 30th birthday party when I was on the cusp of turning 30. And a man told me that everything is downhill after 30, and I'll never forget it. And that stuck with me. Stuck with me to the point that it influenced me to push myself to a level that I knew that I did not want to become, like the person that was telling me that. And if you want that person to be you, I am going to show you exactly how to structure your training so you physically outperform your younger self. I'm going to show you exactly how I rebuilt elite level athleticism in my mid-30s while looking better than I ever did in my 20s. I'm going to show you how to build the body to move that actually transfers to real life sport. And when I talk about sport, I'm not just talking about ball sports. I'm not just talking about boxing. I'm talking about life. Life is the sport because life is competitive. And the game of life is until you die. And you want to be competing that for the rest of your life at the highest level possible. So I'm going to teach you exactly how to construct things to transfer into your real life sport and longevity. Instead of just chasing numbers in the gym that mean nothing, it's all about transferring that. And I'll show you exactly how to do all of this without beating your body up and destroying your joints and not eating bullshit tasting bland food. This is all about what we can do over a long period of time, guys. Not about these 2-3 month stints. And in case you didn't know me, I'm going to give you a little brief backstory about how I got here. As you can see in the images, football's been a big part of my life since I was a young boy. I've been playing since I can remember. And, being of Greek background, football was part of our life. It was just a thing that you did. And, I made it to a level where I was playing semi-professionally. These are some images of me playing for a Greek soccer club at a semi-professional level where, was blessed enough to be able to get paid for doing what I loved. Not an amount that I could live off, but still a very generous amount. And during that time, I was working as a construction worker, beating my body up. That's an image of me on the roof. I had an electrical company and I was installing solar panels. And throughout my time, I was training like a bodybuilder. Kind of lost in what I was doing in the gym. They weren't really supporting my goals on the football field. And as a result, I was never really out of shape, but was also never one to turn heads on the field, physically, athletically. I was just getting by. And I thought, you know what? There's more to this. Like there's more to it. Like there can't be it. But the training that I was doing wasn't helping me, and I started to get plagued with injuries. Till I thought, you know what? Enough's enough. I'm gonna stop playing, and that's when I stopped at the age of 27 years old. But I felt like I was too young to just stop training athletically, and I wanted to continue training and move like an athlete after I retired from football. And this is where everything started to turn, where I wanted to find out another way that I could help people move optimally that actually had transferable results. So I created my system called Orthodox Only. And this is what I built through years of trial and error, rebuilding my body and the mindset in my 30s, and eliminating everything that didn't transfer to real world strength, speed, and longevity. And today, guys, I've decided to break it all down for you for free. So make sure you're ready for this. Because in the following steps, I'll break down the full A to Z process that allowed me to outperform my younger self. So you guys too can use the Orthodox Only method to build a body that not only looks elite, but also performs even better. Now, the Orthodox Only method is a system that I have created that outlives motivation. Super important because that is a feeling that will come and go. That is just a feeling at the end of the day. So the 4-stage process starts with reprogramming the mind, breaking the weak identity. We then move into stage 2 where we rebuild and we return ourselves to our original design. Orthodox meaning original in Greek. And this is very important because we need to wipe the slate clean before we go into stage 3 and we reinforce, in which we start to layer real world strength, before we go into stage 4 and we ascend. And we ascend to express the beast. Now, let me show you how I optimized every stage of this method to rebuild my body from the ground up and, most importantly, outperform the version of myself that I actually thought was my peak back then. My God, that actually makes me laugh. Now that I think about that, I'm in hindsight. Wow, it's been a big journey. Let's start with reprogram the mind. My dissatisfaction with almost. Almost there, almost could have done it, almost this, almost that. Got to a point where I just had to stop bullshitting myself. That's the reality. And that time came during COVID. It became the catalyst to reassess everything. My life, what I was doing, what's important, what isn't, what decisions am I going to be making, everything like that. And during COVID, we had the year off football. I was still playing at the time, but they cancelled the year because, well, it was COVID, obviously. And that's when I really started to reassess and started doing things that I wasn't ordinarily doing. One of them was training at the most ridiculous hours of the morning because I felt like I had to reprogram myself to do the things that were tough that I didn't want to do. And the things that I couldn't really do during football season because my schedule didn't allow me to. This is a famous screenshot of mine or a story that I posted on my Instagram during that time where I'm at a running track at 4:19 a.m. inspired by David Goggins. And I was at the running track at that time because gyms had closed and I had nowhere else to train. So I had to get creative with things. So I started using the parks, I started using the beach, hills, aths tracks. And through that time, I also started doing ocean plunges. And this also coincided with the time in which I actually started a men's community group, which still runs to this day, 6 years on, called the Bare Minimum Club. We're a group of men, we go down to the beach, we run hills, and then we jump in the ocean at 6 a.m. And because I was running this club and I was the leader, I asked and started to ask myself the question, how did I want to be perceived as a man? Because if I was going to lead these men through a journey of bettering themselves, then it was, well, I felt obligated to be and pushing myself to be the best version of myself so that they had an example to look up to. And that was a big catalyst in me changing the dynamics of my mindset, my training, and everything that encompasses that. Because I simply refused the decline narrative. I didn't want to just be part of another stat, another guy just saying, yeah, I'm getting older. So I decided my 30s would be my physical prime and nothing's going to stop me. I saw too many ex-athletes soften and accept the 30s slow down and just believe in it. That's just how life is. No way. No way. I prioritized hormonal health over calorie math. I'm 34 years old. I'm going to sit here and count calories. There's got to be another way. And I found that way. You can see here on the photo up the top, me grilling a steak on the charcoal, abs out. You think I'd track that steak? No chance. I didn't need to. I didn't need to. Because when you eat appropriate food for your body, you know when to stop eating and you know when to start eating because you're more in tune of who you are. And that's the most important thing out of this. And I started to take myself more seriously because others were now looking at me. That photo down there, that's the Bare Minimum Club. That's all the boys, men of all ages, young, old, striving to be the best versions of themselves. And because I knew all of them were looking at me, I had to start taking myself seriously. a hell of a lot more. Because if I didn't, there's no way I'd be able to lead these guys to better themselves. So I had to lead by example. I had to take the charge. And I had to show them that if I can do it in my 30s, they can most definitely do it as well. And then we start the rebuild process. And I had to strip it all back. Stripped it all back. Diet, training, everything. And this is why I've taken on board the carnivore diet approach. Because it's just no bullshit. It just eliminates everything. Eliminates everything. All the unnecessary stuff, gone. And through that, it increases my dietary fats, which support my testosterone naturally. Because as we age as men, our test will drop. It's just biology, okay? Which makes the things that you've done in your 20s going to be a lot harder in your 30s and 40s and 50s. So if we aren't optimizing the 1%ers as we age, I can assure you the things that you were getting away with in your 20s will catch up to you in your 30s, and it will not allow you to be able to operate on the same frequency. So that is why I went full-blown carnivore diet. My training, stripped it all back. I started training in barefoot runners because I thought to myself, if you actually assess the human body biomechanically, we never were wearing shoes or even clothing. And the way we moved was built off no runners. We were earthing, we were grounded to the floor. So I needed to just really reassess and start again and restructure my body and my training from the ground up, like building a house. You want to build a house on a good concrete slab, or the feet are the concrete slab. And that is where the entire structure is standing on. And without a stable platform, then the rest is going to fall down. I also moved into fighting, and I learnt the fight game. Understanding how to throw, how to duck, how to weave, moving in ways which is very, very ancestral, stripping it all back to the bare bones. I also started learning from people who challenged the mainstream fitness narrative and went against the conventional things that had been restricting me for so many years. And that really started to open up my eyes, because rather than doing things out of habit, because I've been doing it for years, I now started to live life a lot more intentionally. And then I started to also think long term instead of chasing short term results. That photo at the top there, that's at my godson's christening. I'm holding him on the right side of me. I'm about to baptize him. That changed my life. I'll never forget it. Because now I was responsible and had the duty of care to raising a young man. And I needed to be the best version of myself in order to give him the greatest opportunities that life can give. Otherwise, my role as a godfather would be hindered. And I took that seriously, and that bled into all avenues of my life. So then we moved into reconstructing from first principles. The barefoot training, the carnivore diet, the fighting, that all led me down a rabbit hole of fascia training, sling systems, to understand how the body actually produced power. Because I thought, man, Spartans never had gyms. They may have had some weights and some heavy shields and things like that, but they weren't going into like a gym and just smashing weights and building the bodies that they had and being able to exert the power that they have and throwing spears so precisely over so many meters. How did they do it and still were able to look good? And this is where I started structuring my training around movements that we as human beings have been doing since the dawn of human time. That's sprinting, jumping, things that translate to real world performance. And out of that, that's where I built a system of training and nutrition that supports that and long-term athleticism and the hormonal health. Super important because things do get more difficult with age. So we need to make sure that our hormones are optimized to ensure that we are able to do this for as long as possible. And this is where I started to reinforce it all. Having to drop my ego and raise the standard. It wasn't easy, I won't lie. Because I had to ask myself, how was I going to sustain the highest level of performance for as long as possible? That to me was important. Being a godfather, knowing I'm going to have kids one day, knowing I'm running a men's community group, I needed to be the example for all these people. And if I was to be the example, I needed to think, how am I going to do this for as long as possible? Even business as well. I'm competing in the business game. There's always young 18, 19-year-olds with less to lose, more drive. It's a free market out there. The market will decide who's the best. And if I'm not chasing to be the best, well then I won't have a business that's successful. And through that, I had to let go of years of traditional gym identity because it shaped who I was for so long. And again, this comes back to living life habitually instead of intentionally. And I had to change that to live life intentionally, not habitually. So I started training for functionality and longevity. And ironically, I actually achieved my dream physique without even chasing the physique. And I took a leaf out of the book of animals because studying animals taught me a lot. Because when you look at a wild cheetah looks like a cheetah, the way a cheetah should look. But have you ever asked yourself as to why that might be the case? Well, I'll tell you. The cheetah eats food in which the cheetah is meant to eat. You don't see cheetahs cheating on their diet. They eat what they're meant to eat. They hunt the food, they eat it. They also move the way they are designed to move. And when you collaborate the two of those together, you get a cheetah that looks the way it looks, functions correctly, and lives a very, very healthy life without sicknesses or cancers or anything like that. Human beings are much the same. When I started to eat a more species appropriate diet and trained more related to a human being, well, the byproduct of that was I now started to look like what an optimal human being should look like. So through that, I blended it into a system. I kept nutrition extremely simple and repeatable. That's a common meal I have. Steak, eggs, raw milk. Job done. Animal source foods, highest nutrient density profile. There's just no mucking around. There's no mucking around. There's nothing I do not need out of that. Very simple. Taste amazing. And because it's simple and it tastes amazing, the repeatability of it is absolutely seamless. It's just how can I want to replace that with anything else? Just doesn't make sense to me. Especially because I know that, well, it helps me maintain sprinting, explosive work, and my combat conditioning, my mental clarity. It helps me make decisions based on lifetime outcomes and not seasonal aesthetics. Because when I eat that way, there's no cutting and bulking. I barely fluctuate a kilo or two. I'm shredded all year round. And to me, that's effortless because, well, I don't have to track. And again, because I'm studying and taking a leaf out of what the animals do, well, I eat that meal and I stop eating because I know and I'm more in tune with my body because my senses tell me that stop eating because you're eating appropriate food. The removal of distractions and chemicals and engineered food that tastes so good that you don't even know whether you're hungry, full, or you're just addicted to it. That's why we need to bring out these calculators, and we started to disconnect ourselves from our bodies. But once I removed all that, it just created structure, and it further enhanced the support of my testosterone naturally. And this is where I started to ascend. And I started to outperform what I thought was my prime. My testosterone levels were higher than what they were 10 years ago. This is literally a screenshot from my latest test results. And as you can see, my total test and my calculated free test are in the upper bracket because I'm more in tune with my body, because I made decisions of being out in the sun, by eating appropriately, by training the way the body is meant to function and train. And as a byproduct of that, my testosterone increased, which allows me to move better, react faster, and endure more intensity and make the things that are hard enjoyable. And when that is the case, it just bled into other areas. I'm started competing harder in boxing than I ever did in football. My energy was maintained without looking at a calculator. I just knew what to eat and how much of it, because it was just a feeling. Oh, I'm full, cool, stop eating. Oh, I'm hungry, let's eat. Not hungry, don't eat. And when you're in tune with your body, it liberates me from, well, just a mental clarity that I have out of that. And with the added time and the more mental clarity and the increased testosterone, training, nutrition, and all that, my business started to see a hell of a lot more success. My overall being was becoming more magnified. I was glowing. I felt like I was invincible. I still do feel like I'm invincible. So from training aside, like, everything starts to elevate. And now I started to live as the standard. It was part of who I was. I don't want to harp on too much about the body, because sure, the body's important, don't get me wrong, because it reflects discipline and conviction. But if I've just got the body and everything else is failing, then that's not good enough to me. The body also needs to be part of everything else. That's super important. But I became proof that the decline is optional. Look at my father in that top right photo. That's me and my dad out in the sun, flexing, raw milk, steak. He's 67 years old, full head of hair. The guy's massive. That's a long-term thinking mindset. That's not a mindset. You don't just get there because you've done a year or two of good decisions. That's compounded day after day after day, year after year, and now he's at 67 years old and he's looking like that. Animal. Because he's built long-term thinking into every area of his life, as have I. Because I plan to be that. I think about the kids I'm going to have. I think about everyone, and I think about how am I going to be a role model for them. If I was to speak, how would my voice be heard? Would it be more heard if I was fat and out of shape? Or if I was the example with a body and a mindset and an aura that reflected out to everybody else? You don't need to answer that. You know the answer to that damn question. And I became stronger in my 30s than I ever was in my 20s. In all areas. Not just in the gym. Mental. I could outperform my 20-year-old self in every aspect. Business, life, you name it. And I can only see that compounding further and further and further and further, as it should be. Because you've had more years on this earth. With more years fosters more experience. So you have the decision to spiral upwards or downwards. Because more years can mean more compounding downwards. But it can also mean more years compounding upwards. And that's a trajectory I started to go on as I started to ascend. In the epiphany, I used to train like everyone else, man. Young guy in the gym, yeah, let's do more, blah, 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 blah. More fatigue. For what? I looked decent, but I wasn't really moving well. Compared to what I look like now, I wouldn't even say it's decent. And if I wasn't moving well in my 20s, like, the hell's my 30s, 40s, and 50s going to be like? Because then I wasn't thinking long term, I was thinking short term. But once I adopted that long term mindset, it changed everything. Changed everything. Because I realized I needed to make a change. I needed to start training the way the body is designed to move. And the byproduct of that was, physically I became faster, more explosive, more capable. And that in turn helped my body start working with me than against me. And, well, you want to know what happened next? Well, you're about to find out. The compounding effect of what I was saying, it spiraled out of control upwards. Because I was moving better and less inflamed, well, I started recovering faster. And because I was recovering faster, I could train and work with more intent. Because my intent was higher, my output improved. My fitness, physique, mindset, business, just leveling up. And that's when I realized, wow, everything's compounding here. But I still needed to put it to the test. I still needed to put it to the test, especially with my training mechanisms. So I got into the ring because I had been training and doing this and just trialing and erroring everything for 6 damn years since I stopped playing soccer. And I thought to myself, I need to prove to myself that I can do this so that, well, I could teach people how to do it as well. And that photo at the top right there, that's me in the ring, looking down at my opponent. He's sitting down after I just connected a right hand to his chin and had him stumbling right across the ring. And if it wasn't for the ropes behind him, he'd be in that crowd right there. I'm not even joking. You don't believe me? Scroll through my videos on this channel and you'll find the full fight there. The referee called the fight off immediately, called the doctor in, and that was the end of it. And the result, I won by way of knockout. And that was the moment where I just thought, you know what, even this training as well has allowed me to compete in the arena against a man far younger than me, more sharper, more resilient. Technically, he should be based on his age. But boy, did I prove that wrong. And so have my other clients that I've worked with along the way. All these boys right here have adopted the orthodox only system. That's, there to restore how their body's meant to function. So not only are they looking better, but their performance, their energy, and their output have compounded to a level most people never reach. And as you can see through their bodies, there has been physical adaptations for the better. And it's not just about that, guys, okay? I know I've been bringing that up and there's been photos, but it's not just a physical adaptation. The most important thing is that performance able to be spilling out into other areas of your life? Are you more of a dominant person at work? Are you a killer? Are people looking at you with that, yeah, man, I'm going to listen to this guy's voice? Because we as men all want to be heard. We want to be heard because it's important. But you cannot be heard if you are standing in a physique that isn't supporting that. Because that physique bleeds into the confidence that you have as a man. And if you don't have that confidence as a man, you can forget your business endeavors, you can forget any of that sort of stuff. Because the longer that you can feel and stay like your younger self, then the better overall that you are going to be as a man. And these men are all experiencing that. All experiencing them. Some of these guys I'm still working with to this day. Now that you understand exactly how this process works, I have an offer for you. If you're an athlete wanting to regain or surpass your prime, if you're a former athlete like myself, no longer moves like you used to, or you're unable to master your training and nutrition to support your hormones, and you're ready to look and perform like a god, and are prepared to become the ultimate version of yourself physically and mentally, I have a link in the description. You can click on that and book a one-on-one call with me where I can take you through my one-on-one coaching that can help you take yourself from where I once was and fast track that 6-year process I went through to help you optimize and look like and perform like the man that I am today. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you on the call. Catch you on the next one.